Hello, David here. So, I want to talk about something that I discovered also this week. It's the week of JavaScript arrays, and I can't believe that I didn't see these tools coming into the JavaScript ecosystem. So you probably know about splice, right? There is a function called slice, there is splice, and the main difference there is splice. Even though some people get confused there, saying slice doesn't mutate and splice does mutate. No, it's all about mutation. There is a mutation happening in a way or another, right? So forget about the mutation. I'm gonna just talk about the fact that there is this mutation in place happening when you do splice, right? So now, for example, I say, hey, let's splice 0. So it's basically saying, hey, the arrays will basically be a kind of a copy of the initial array, and initial array will become empty. That's basically what happened. It just remove everything from there, slice 0. However, if I say slice 1, you see now that it basically says from position 0, so that's basically what it means. It says from position 0 take 1 element, right? Here it means position 0 take 2 elements, but you clearly see that by writing so there is a split happening in that array right there. Now, an initial array got basically destroyed in a way. And if you have that in your code, that's a really difficult bug sometimes to understand when you're using this function. I wouldn't suggest anyone to use that. But if you have to, I would like to show you another thing that came into the JavaScript ecosystem. I actually don't know when, but it's there and it's actually working. It's mind-blowing. So what's going to happen here is I'm going to create right below. I'm just going to put a little bit of separation right there. And what I'm going to do is to say, we're going to create a second array. And we're just gonna say it's the same, right? Initial array and it is basically the same. So now that second array, what I'm gonna do with it is to say second array dot to splice, right? And I will do exactly the same thing that is right there, right? So over here. So what happens when we do that? Let's take a second result and let's look at it. So we see that arrays2 is now basically what initial array is right there. So what basically happened, right? So when we say splice 2, we're basically saying, hey, we're supposed to start at position 0 and we take the first 2 elements there. But actually that's not what happened there. It basically took them from the back and he said, hey, I'm gonna take the last 2. If you look at it, it says 3 and 2. It took that right there. But if I go here and I say 0, you see it took the first 2. So by putting 2 here is basically saying take the first 2 here. How about second array? What happened to second array? It is exactly the same. Second array doesn't get modified, right? It does that replacement. So it take a copy of what it needs and then it move that into arrays2, right? Whereas when you use splice basically say, hey, you have an array. So it goes right there and then it says, you have an array and it will go here 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you call splice, you give it 2 here, and then what he's going to do is to say, hey, from you, what we're gonna do there is to say we got cut here in the middle, so that's position 0. Let me take that 0, 1, 2, 3. So you say, hey, I want to get these 3. You will just go here and cut that part and then move that into another array, right? So you end up having 2 arrays. So one, which is this one here, A, and then B, and then A and B actually are completely different in that case. So hopefully that's pretty clear. That's what is happening behind the scene right there. So if we go back to our code, we can see that toSplice basically does that in a different way. It says, hey, I'm gonna take the first 2. If I say 3 here, you see it's taking the first 3. Or if you say 7, it just knows, hey, there is no 7. No, it just gives you the entire array right there. And the most important thing that I want you to keep in mind here is the fact that the array, second array, when you use toSplice, isn't mutated. But that doesn't mean that if res2, let's do that with res2 here, we know that at the position 4, so let's go with 4, we can basically say name is equal packages2, and then if we look at that, so what about that is saying that name doesn't exist, so that completely makes sense because it's 0, 1, 2, 3, so there is position 3, my bad. And now you can see that both res2 and second array have the changes. So even though second array is stay in place, there's a mutation, but it's basically doesn't change second array object or anything that is a reference inside the initial array will be mutated if you change that in the copied array, right? So that's a fundamental part. So the question remaining here is, how do you mutate an array? How do you make a deep copy of an array? How do you do that? How would you do that, right? Give me your answer in comment, right? And this is free. That content is completely free. However, I want you to go on YouTube or on hackages.io and like that video, subscribe to Hackages, because we have amazing stuff coming around. And if you don't know about it, there is a platform that allows you to basically learn this concept using TDD. It's called hackages.io. Click there, have fun, and I'll see you on the next video. Cheers, people. Bye.